Coming up on Network Africa. Suez Canal officials free huge container ship that was stuck in the canal since last week. Dozens die after a militant assault on northern Mozambique. Plus, the Sudanese government signs an agreement separating state and religion. Hello and welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Layo Adegoke. Egyptian authorities say a giant ship that blocked the Suez Canal for nearly a week has been finally freed. The 400-meter-long Ever Given was wedged across the canal before salvage crews dislodged her on Monday. It was not immediately clear when full traffic could resume in the canal. Now, Suez is one of the world's busiest trade routes, and companies were forced to reroute ships, causing long tailbacks of hundreds of vessels. Egyptian media said the Ever Given had started moving along the channel after having been fully refloated. Live TV footage also showed the ship aligned in a straight position along the canal. In the meantime, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi thanks the citizens for their efforts in ending the crisis. Meanwhile, authorities in Egypt have ordered the arrest of 8 people over last week's fatal train collision that killed 18 people. Carriages derailed and overturned when 2 trains collided near the city of Tata, a Sohag province, on Friday. The number of those killed in the tragedy has been reduced to 18, down from the 19 cited by Health Minister Hala Zayed on Saturday, and it's far lower than the 32 initially reported. Egypt has seen frequent accidents on its railway system, due in part to poor maintenance and lack of investment. Well, let's get more on the train crash and the Suez Canal blockage. We have VOA's Edward Yeranian joining us now live from Cairo. Thank you so much, Edward, for speaking to us. Let's begin with the update on the train crash, the unfortunate train crash. Does the order of arrest for these train drivers mean that the accident was caused by their negligence?
Well, Layo, no, it doesn't. And the last time there was a major crash here in Cairo, actually, at the main train station in 2019, they arrested the drivers of I guess there were 2 trains involved. One was a fireball, and the Egyptian media at the time suggested that the driver was responsible. But we never really heard final conclusion on that. But it is the policy to arrest the drivers of trains and drivers of buses that are involved in accidents, mostly to interrogate them, and secondarily, in a case like this, where there were a number of casualties, to placate the families of the victims.
All right, let's move on to the Suez Canal blockage. I'm sure it's a huge relief, but just talk us through the process of freeing the Ever Given vessel.
Well, they were trying to remove sand, and as of yesterday night, I believe they had said they had removed 80% of the sand that was under the ship on its sides, because it was blocking, was wedged in the canal on the edges where it's less deep. And by moving that sand, they were able to dislodge parts of the hull and push it back into the center of the canal, the waterway. And the last live feed we saw showed the ship moving on its own power in the center of the canal. So hopefully the situation has been resolved. It's not entirely clear because anything could happen at this point, but they're trying to move the ship to the lakes, the Bitter Lakes, above the position of the ship where it was blocked, and hopefully put it there while they finish investigating what happened.
All right, just before I let you go, Edward, do we know what caused the ship to become stuck in the first place? You know, since last week, was it due to a technical fault or human error?
Well, I can only go by what the head of the canal authority is saying, and I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he's saying. He's accusing the pilot of being responsible, and I've seen other accusations of the pilot because apparently he was involved in an accident in Germany off the coast of Hamburg in 2019, I believe. So some media, foreign media, was suggesting that he's not a good captain. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I heard.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Edward Yeranian, VOA's correspondent in Cairo. Thank you for speaking to us.
My pleasure, Layo.
Well, here in Nigeria, PMS theft on the Lagos waters has drastically reduced by more than 80%. So says the outgoing commander, NNS Baycroft, Rear Admiral Ibrahim Shetima. He made the disclosure while handing over NNS Baycroft to the new commander, Commodore Bashir Mohammed. According to him, the NNS Baycroft played a significant role in dislodging oil thieves and other criminal elements who used Takwa Bay as a base to unleash harm on NNPC facilities.
Unlike in the past where pipeline vandalism and oil theft was rampant, a robust and vigorous security strategy by the base has led to a massive reduction in the activities of these vandals who attempt to siphon and sell this stolen product to the detriment of the nation's finances. Under my watch, the base conducted numerous operations which has led to the dismantling of many illegal connections along the PPMC pipelines. This effort by the base has led to a reduction of PMS loss along the line from 27.25% in the past to less than 5% today, saving the nation billions of naira. This was achieved through clearance operation at the Atlas Cove and Takwa Bay, which used to be the haven of pipeline vandals and criminal syndicates, resulting in significantly fewer disruption to NNPC operation within the area. Additionally, the base conducted patrols which led to the arrest of several vessels involved illegal bunkering and other illicit activities. All these vessels were handed over appropriately to the prosecuting agencies. I implore you to kindly extend the level of cooperation I enjoyed to the incoming commander, Commodore Bashir Mohammed.
Also, security in Mozambique, dozens of people have died following an attack by Islamist militants on a town in the northern part of the country. Hundreds of militants stormed Palma last week, targeting shops, banks, and a military barracks. Officials add that 7 people were killed trying to escape a siege on a hotel. Hundreds of others, both locals and foreigners, were reportedly rescued from Palma after the attack. The exact number of casualties in Palma, a town of about 75 people in Cabo Delgado province, is unclear, as many people are still unaccounted for. Militants linked to the Islamic State group are behind the conflict in the predominantly Muslim region. The fighting has left more than 2,500 people dead and 700,000 displaced since the insurgency began in 2017. 4 months after the Ethiopian government declared victory over the rebellious Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, tens of thousands of Tigrayans are again being driven from their homes. This time, it is due not to the fighting, but to regional forces and militiamen from neighboring Amhara seeking to settle a decade-old land dispute.
The duster buses keep coming into Shar, dozens a day, mattresses, chairs and baskets piled on top. They stop at schools hurriedly turned into camps, disgorging families who describe fleeing from ethnic Amhara militia in Ethiopia's Tigray region. Wahad Gabriel Ziaher, a mother of 9 children, recently arrived and found shelter in a former primary school classroom in the town. She said she had received little assistance, only some food for a 7-month-old baby. Amhara officials say the disputed lands, equal to about a quarter of Tigray, were taken during the nearly 3 decades that the TPLF-dominated central government before Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to power in 2018.
The western Tigray zone is occupied by the Amhara militias and special forces, and they are forcing the people to leave their homes. We believe that this is unacceptable, because it's not only displacement, it's beyond that. It's even about human rights issue.
This fresh exodus from the west of Tigray risks exacerbating a precarious humanitarian situation in the region, with hundreds of thousands of people already uprooted by fighting. The territorial dispute is also being carefully watched by other regions in Ethiopia's fractious federation, some with their own simmering border disputes.
We have more than 270,000 old IDPs which are found in 3 IDP sites, and currently within the last 2 weeks we have more 45,000 IDPs which are displaced from the western part of Tigray.
Fighters from Amhara entered western Tigray in support of federal forces after the TPLF, Tigray's then governing party, attacked military bases there in November. Tigrayan officials say the area has long been home to both ethnic groups, and the region's borders are set by the constitution. Now that fighting has subsided and roads have reopened, they say there is a concerted illegal push to drive out Tigrayans.
The Sudanese government has signed a declaration of principles that calls for freedom of religion and cultural identity in a democratic state. The agreement also seeks to separate religion and the state. The agreement was signed with the SPLM North, a predominantly Christian rebel group that operates in the Nuba Mountains. Until now, it had refused to join most of the other rebel factions that signed the peace settlement with Sudan's new government following the overthrow of former President General Omar al-Bashir. He had introduced Sharia law in 1983, but the SPLM North insists Sudan must be a secular state. The sign-in on Sunday is viewed as a crucial step in efforts by the power-sharing government to end decades of conflict with a wide range of rebel factions.
Now that he has signed this agreement, I believe that he will not renege from what he has signed. Because he is always a man of his words.
At the World Food Program, we use food as a weapon of peace. In the United Nations, we're grateful for the leadership and the support of everyone here. But I look to the day that we no longer are here because South Sudan and Sudan are not only feeding their own people, but they're feeding all of Africa and the rest of the world. But that can't happen without the building blocks of peace.
Still ahead on the program. Former U.S. President Barack Obama's step-grandmother, Sarah Obama, dies at the age of 99. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. The leaders of Somalia's semi-autonomous states of Jubaland and Puntland have reportedly been convinced to take part in talks aimed at ending the electoral deadlock in the country. Reports say the two regional heads met their Galmudug, Southwest and Hishabelle counterparts and reached an understanding that talks with the central government should resume in Mogadishu. Puntland and Jubaland previously refused to participate in a meeting with President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, arguing he must not chair the talks as his term ended on February the 8th. Tanzania's new president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, has suspended the Director General of the country's Ports Authority after an audit report showed embezzlement of government funds at the state corporation. This is her first key decision since assuming office. President Samia announced the suspension of Mr. Kakoko after receiving an audit report for the financial year 2019-2020. She expressed concern that the Ports Authority had not accounted for about 4 billion Tanzanian shillings. She therefore ordered urgent investigations into the loss of public funds. The president also warned that action would be taken against other state corporations, including Air Tanzania, which reportedly made a loss of 60 billion shillings. The Auditor General's reports indicated that the revived national carrier had been making losses for the past 5 years. President Samia took the action just 2 days after the burial of former President John Magufuli, who is remembered for his drive against corruption in government. Madagascar is mourning its former president Didier Ratsiraka, who has died at the age of 84. President Andre Rajoelina, who announced his passing, says that the Malagasy have lost an illustrious patriot. The president sent his condolences to relatives, the military community, and the citizens of Madagascar. Mr. Ratsiraka, who seized power as a young naval officer in 1975, governed Madagascar until 1991 and again from 1996 to 2002. After losing elections in 2002, he left the country for France until his return 9 years later. While in exile in 2003, a Madagascan court sentenced him in absentia to 10 years hard labor for corruption. But years later, the current president told him he was free to return. Well, former U.S. President Barack Obama's step-grandmother, Sarah Obama, has died at a hospital in Kenya at the age of 99. Mrs. Obama died early on Monday at the Jaramogi Odinga Hospital in the western town of Kisumu. Reports say her family is making arrangements to have her buried at a cemetery in the town. Former President Barack Obama said on Twitter that she will be dearly missed, but her long and remarkable life will be celebrated with gratitude. Mrs. Obama was fondly referred to as Granny Sarah by the former president. She was the third and youngest wife of the former president's grandfather. Also, Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta said on Twitter that Mrs. Obama was a strong, virtuous woman and an icon of family values. Well, access to safe water remains a subject that tops discussions globally, and vulnerable communities continue to cry out to get access to clean water, and developed ones provide the resource for members of their community. World Water Day, a day set aside by the United Nations, is to celebrate the importance of water to humanity, and it is celebrated every 22nd of March. Our next report takes a look at the water situation across some states here in Nigeria.
According to USAID, 1 in 3 people live without safe drinking water globally, and by 2050, up to 5.7 billion people could be living in areas where water is scarce for at least 1 month a year. This underscores the value of this very important resource. These statistics show the value of water to humanity, the valuable resource that man cannot live without. In Nigeria, many communities rely on their own water source to ensure its availability. In this private estate in Lagos, for instance, portable water is not available to go round. The residents, knowing how much their lives depend on this, decide to build a mini water works commissioned in 2020.
Whatever water project we have here today is as a result of self-help projects. The initial settlers here came in, and when they realized that they could not get potable drinking water, there was nothing actually they could do.
In Ondo State, southwest Nigeria, this public water kiosk is open to all. Residents say it has helped to alleviate their suffering from water shortage.
NEPA is not on. There is no power to power it. Diesel is very expensive. For you to pump from Owena, for example, to this place, it will take about 3 hours. And for the generator being used, for 1 hour, they will use about 200 liters.
And as residents seem to be wading their way through water scarcity, experts on the subject discuss ways to preserve it.
Without water, there's no life. And that is why the association, that is my association, which I am the national president, have decided to celebrate this day, especially to tell the world the value we add to water.
Water is key, water is life, and there's so much that we can do. The government has to put in the infrastructure. The users have to also be conscious of the provision, and they have to pay the cost. There is a user pay principle as well.
For others, ongoing projects to make water more available to citizens will soon be completed.
Federal Ministry of Water Resources, through the Honorable Minister, has been doing enormous work in terms of providing water to the people across the Federation. A lot of program, both secondary water supply and the urban water supply and the primary water supply, that is WASH, and other donor agencies, has done a lot in terms of providing water to the people.
This importance attached to water is why March the 22nd is set aside annually to create awareness on the need to reach about 2.2 billion people who are living without access to safe water, hygiene facilities and sanitation in all countries of the world.
Well, water indeed is life. That's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.